Welcome to Talk Music with Will Dorsey Jr.
Every month,
Our host Will is going to interview musicians from around the world and talk everything music. Our listeners range from professionals to recreational musicians who want to learn more about the industry, their instruments, and the community of top musicians. So join us, subscribe, and keep up with Talk Music.
visit us on www.talkmusicpodcast.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download our podcast on Apple, Google, Amazon, and Spotify.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, 𝐸 Studio, the new way musicians rehearse, record, and share their 𝐸 sessions on social media. Visit ERS on 𝐸recordstudio.com. Download this amazing app on Google and Apple Apps stores.
Hey, everybody. This is Will Dorsey of Talk Music Podcast with Will Dorsey Jr. I'm your host, again, Will Dorsey. I got a special guest today named Mr. Michael Anderson. The dude is a legend guy, producer, bass player, keyboardist, just name it, drummer. But yeah, man, check out this interview. Hope you guys enjoy. Thank you for coming on with me on the show. What's up, Michael? How you doing, man?
What's up, brother?
How you doing, man? Thank you thank you so much for even just coming on to this show, onto my show.
Man,
I'm blessed that you can bless us with your knowledge, man. You know what I'm saying? So
I appreciate
thank you, man.
I appreciate it.
This is Mr. I'm gonna just introduce you. This is Mr. Michael Anderson. Would you like to introduce yourself? What do you do? And
Wow.
So let you hit it off.
Jeez. What do I do? Born and raised in Sacramento, musician, bass player, keyboard player, somewhat guitar player, vocalist, producer, songwriter, performer, touring musician for a long time, played with Christina Aguilera, produced two projects for American Idol. I was voice coach for anyway, yeah.
Man, I want people to know that's what you do. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
Man, keep going. If you got more, man, we're here.
I've the thing about my career, and I whenever I get into these conversations, and I'm sure you and I have talked about this offline before, is that I've had a very bizarre career, but in a blessing way, in a great way, because I was telling a friend recently, when I asked God for music when I was a kid, I didn't ask God for it. I just want to play R&B, or I just want to play God. And so in that way, man, I've been able to do country, rock, R&B, pop, so on and so forth, and I've been able to do it with some really great names. Aaron Carter, I was his musical director. Christina Aguilera, I was her assistant musical director. I was in the band with Maya. I played with Jagged Edge. I was their musical director.
Wow.
So on and so forth. I did a song. There was a basketball movie called The Sixth Man, that I was musical director for, an artist named Savory. We all did that tune in the main song in the film. So it's like my career sort of spans a bunch of different weird creative spaces.
Right.
The first song that I ever had placed was a song on a girl named Adina Howard. So R&B hip hop record that went gold for us.
Yeah.
So I've been blessed, man, to sort of do a lot of things, utilize all my skill, and then every once in a while also give some information to young artists that is helpful, man, and help them grow along. One of my, as you might know, one of my girls that was in my country group, which I'm assuming we're going to talk about. She's on The Voice right now. Her name's Kristen Brown, and I basically raised her. She was about 13, 14 years old when I met her. And I managed and produced her and 2 other girls for roughly 10 years. And so, you know, man, it's cool to see those that you can kind of give a little bit of information to and see what they do with it. And, you know, she's doing well.
Man, that's awesome, man. Well, let's dive into more of that. What have you been working on lately? Like not just her and, you know, like, but I want to hear about her as well. But sure. Yeah, I'll let you talk and speak on that, man. You know.
So in the lately category, I've been sort of doing a bunch of stuff. I have a record coming out actually on Good Friday. I produced a Christmas record with Cedric the Entertainer, actually.
Oh wow!
So we got that coming out on Good Friday. It's called The Soul of Christmas. It's a title cut. There's another jazz project that me and my guy Silas White, shout out to Silas White, we've been really kind of starting and stopping, partly because of the pandemic, on this jazz project that we got called the Passport. It's got Dave Koz and a bunch of other sort of artists in that space that we are pretty excited about. I have 4 tunes on that project that should be coming out at the top of the year. I just finished another sort of gospel kind of project, sort of like a Kirk Franklin kind of thing, where it's more sort of modern gospel stuff. And so we got that coming out at the top of the year. I did a tune on a young lady named 𝐌𝐢𝐜𝐿 Jackson, who was also on The Voice. I think she was in the top 10 the season she was on. So I got something kind of going again. It's just the luck of the draw. Oh, I almost forgot. We got this other kid, Dalton James, man. That you are very, very familiar with. We're doing an artist development thing on him right now. But we should be recording with him top of the year. That's going to be more of a rock thing, and hopefully it'll get you the skills on the skins on that.
Hey,
thing.
Man, I'm down, man. I am
We're
down.
Working.
Yeah.
Working,
Anything you want to like promote?
Those are the main things right now. I mean, I'm also working on at some point in the new year, I will circle back actually to myself, probably for the first time in my career. I have like a funk jazz thing. So Prince had a band called Madhouse. They did 2 projects. And I wrote some songs actually for, I don't know, most people might know Eddie M, saxophone player, played with Sheila E. and what have you. So he's one of my big brothers.
Man, really?
And I wrote some records for him and John Paris. They have a project called B2B. And he was like, yeah, I like the other one. And I was like, I don't know which one you're talking about. But I was like, you know what? I'm keeping this one.
Right. Oh, man.
I'm keeping this one for me. And so at the top of the year, I've already started some sketches, you know, of things that I trying to sort of figure out what the space is, you know, because one of the things that for myself, I don't know if you've encountered this, but when you're a guy that sort of can exist in many spaces, it's very difficult to figure out what you're not.
Oh, yeah.
You know, meaning, you know, I found my country voice. And I tried to find it, I think, in an authentic way. You know, obviously the pop, R&B, and funk stuff, got that, you know. And so in this space, I just want to find where the sound is and makes the most sense to me. You know, I would love to be somewhere closer to where guys like Robert Glasper and that kind of thing is. But I also understand that there's a commerce side. And so you got to kind of find this balance so that, you know, watercolors or any of those kind of formats will still also play your record. So it's a process of me sort of playing with the dial, you know what I mean?
Right.
Going, that might be too cheesy.
Right.
Let's bend that back. I'm not going to be able to live with that. So, but the upside is that the Passport project will sort of lend itself to some of those sounds. And so I'll get to sort of experiment and then sort of figure it out. And then I can go, okay, now I see where I belong. You know what I mean?
Right. Man, you're blowing my mind right now, especially with the Eddie M.
Oh yeah, man. That's my boy.
Dude, man, that's so sick.
All those are dude. So Eddie, John Paris, Derek Allen DOA, who was the cornerstone of my whole career.
Right.
All those dudes, man. Those are all my big brothers, man. All of those guys.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude. Okay. I have to ask this. Okay. So in every genre that you were talking about, like, can you name like some of the stuff that, you know, that people can look up that you're, you know, like a part of?
Okay. So unfortunately, let me see. On the rock side, the thing that I was a part of the most, which is a band called Ashwilicious, there isn't much, if anything, online. I don't think.
Okay.
But there was a band called Raising Sons that I helped put together, and I wrote a song for them called "Deal with It." Actually, you know what? If you look on YouTube, there's a Cox COX communications commercial, and it has these rock dudes in it. It's like a little animated thing, and so the song made the commercial for Cox Communication. It was like yeah. So that's there. Raising Sons was the rock thing. Let me think. Is there any other rock stuff? The American Idol projects. The first one I did, American Idol season 5. The record's called Encores. And so those records are really gigantic compilation albums.
Right.
So literally there's country, there is R&B, there's rock, there is some of everything on that project. We did the season that Chris Daughtry was on.
Wow. Okay.
We did Dead or Alive on him. We had a guy named Bucky Covington who was sort of the country guy, and we did sort of like a Stevie Ray Vaughan blues rock kind of version of Superstition on that stuff, where I play bass with Dorian Crozier. Do you know Dorian?
I don't know Dorian. Yeah.
Dorian Crozier is a monster on them things, man.
Right.
And so you know, so there's sort of, you know, bits and pieces around.
Right.
The country stuff is my girls, man. Auburn Road is the name of the band.
Yeah.
Our first record is out, and the single that we were promoting for our second record, but we ran into the pandemic.
Yeah.
And so that sort of killed not just the band, but it killed our label, which they went upside down like millions of dollars, man. And so it killed everything. So ultimately, like what that could have become is still 3 years later.
Right.
A bit of a stone on my shoe, as they say. But I'm still very proud of it, man. There's tons of stuff online.
Yeah.
There's stuff on YouTube about Auburn Road. That's there. So jazz stuff, you know, I did a title cut on a guy named Marion Meadows, a song called Forbidden Fruit. Adina Howard, like I said, for the R&B stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all over the place, man.
Jagged Edge.
Yeah,
right.
Jagged Edge.
Man, that's amazing, man. Man, that's so good.
Yeah, man.
So good, man. So I mean, can you give us like a story, like I don't know, give us like a story like when you were touring or something like that. Like think of like a nightmare or something like that. In
a nightmare.
Yeah, like have there been any nightmares?
Oh, there's been several.
Oh, right?
There's been several. I mean, okay. The very first tour that I was on, now, and I say nightmare, this is actually really tragic.
Oh.
We were in the very first tour I was on. I was in Milwaukee, and we get done with the gig. We're trying to leave the venue, but obviously, the bus is in the traffic with everybody else. And dude, somebody in their car this happened twice on the same tour. I just remember this. People got like just impatient, dude, and hit somebody.
Oh,
first time it wasn't fatal. Weeks later, same tour. This was the Club MTV tour, like 91. So I'm playing with an artist named Tar Kemp, Gerardo, Club Color Me Bad, CNC Music Factory, Tony, and BBD, all on the same tour. So the Tonys had like a party at their hotel, at like a pajama party. So after the gig, everybody goes over there. But I rode on someone else's bus to the party. So I'm sitting, you know how tour buses are. So I'm sitting in the front lounge.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking out the front window, and out of the front lounge, I see this. It was someone flying in the air.
What?
In front of us, there was a car that hit this guy. He was like a taxi driver changing his tire on the shoulder of the road, and they hit him. They hit him so hard, he flew in the air. Everybody ran to get off the bus, and I said, I don't want to see that at all.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think he made it.
When
you say nightmare, I've seen some crazy stuff, dude.
Right. Oh, wow.
That was a tragic story. But you know, listen, my same tour actually. Now that you think about it, I think most of the craziest stuff that happened to me happened on my first one. We were driving out of Montreal into New York State, I think it was, whatever.
Right.
Coming out of the Canada back into the U.S.
Right.
And we're on our bunks. It's early in the morning. Kind of look out your bunk. Sky's a little hazy in the bunk. Dude, freaking blew a head gasket on the bro.
Oh,
it's like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my God.
And we got to pull over, get out of the bus. Everything in the back of the bus is on fire.
Oh,
I've had a couple, man.
Yeah.
Crazy ones where it's like,
yeah,
touring. Yeah.
So
anytime I hear a story where something bad happened on tour, a bus, I'll go, ooh, man.
Yeah.
I know that feeling, man. So it's been, but thankfully, nothing has happened super close. It's all been sort of outside the window, if you will.
Yeah.
But it lets you know, man, that it's a precarious life, man. That touring space, man. You got to be mindful. Got to keep your eyes open. I'm sure you in your travels, like crossing that border from the U.S. into Canada at Detroit.
Yeah.
You better not have nothing on you.
Yeah.
Because them dogs is coming on the bus.
Yeah, they are.
Oh man, coming on the bus, and you will be thankful for that.
They're serious, So
not playing. Yeah, not playing.
Oh man, can you say like who the artist was that you were with on that first tour? Or
Tar Kemp.
Oh, Tar Kemp. Okay.
Yeah, she had a tune out called "Just Want to Hold You Tight."
Okay.
A Piece of My Heart. I think it's called "Piece of My Heart."
Yeah.
The first artist I ever played for was a girl named Tracy Spencer.
Okay. Yeah.
So the thing is that, and I don't know how often you and I actually even talk about this, but like, my first instrument actually was keyboards.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah.
So I started with her. She had a tune out called "This House" and another ballad called "Tender Kisses," which did moderately fairly well for her.
Yeah.
We did, and I was telling some friends just yesterday, because they were asking me like, did you do like the local band circuit and cover band stuff? And I did not actually.
Okay.
I went from playing at my mom's house to being on TV. And I go to LA, maybe 3 months after that, I was on Arsenio.
Wow.
And we did Leno. Back then it was still the Johnny Carson show, but we did Leno and some other TV stuff. And then I went to go do Tara.
Right.
And then, so I've been on, a bunch of those shows and kind of all this stuff, man. But then Tara actually is where I switched to bass, but it was literally on accident. I'm not sure if you're familiar with a guy named Bruce Sterling, but Bruce Sterling was the guy who's launched. If you were playing on any gig or most gigs in the early mid-90s, actually all through the 90s, because I did Christina Aguilera in 99.
Right.
All through the 90s, dude, Bruce Sterling probably called you to put you on the gig. And so he called me and said, hey, bring your bass. I just want to show some versatility.
Right.
So I went in there thinking, I'll just go in there and have fun because I'm going to get the keyboard gig.
Right.
Dude, I go to the callback and I'm the only bass player at the callback. No joke. And I'm going, what does that mean? And so Tara and I are good friends now. And she says to me, she told me a little while ago, she says, I just couldn't stop looking at you because I was just having fun.
Right. Yeah.
And her choreography was like that guy. Right. So they had guys that were far better bass players than me. Robert Bacon, but Alex Al, like all these dudes who could smoke me on the bass.
Right.
But she kept going, okay, so can I see that drummer and this guitar player with Michael on the bass? And I'm going, yeah, but he's here.
Right, yeah.
And so, man. But you know what that taught me, man? You know what that taught me? Just go for it, man. Just go for it. You never know, and listen, now we want to talk about nightmares. Dude, I had never played a gig on the bass before.
You haven't?
At that then?
Oh, back then. Okay.
I was only playing to like write songs and just to have fun. I had never played a gig on the bass.
Wow.
My first gig was the Club MTV tour.
Okay.
And let me make it worse. Let me make it worse. Talk about nightmares. Okay, so I'm on tour with freaking Jubu,
right?
Raphael Sadiq, Elijah Baker, all those dudes, and then and so I'm playing, man, and I look in the audience and I see Jubu standing there, and I'm going, I'm blowing. So but like all those guys are my guys, man.
Yeah,
so I'm not tripping now, but I know back then they were like, aren't you supposed to play keyboard too? But over time, people call you for the thing that they see you doing.
Right.
And so more and more, I just got called to play bass. And you let me keep playing it, I'll get better at it. And eventually I did. So, it all worked out in the end. But man. that early year or two, it was a little rough.
Right. Oh man. Well, can I ask you on this? Like during your whole season, your whole career, you ever, I'm sure there's musicians do feel like this. I mean, did you ever feel like you just wanted to give up, like not do what you're doing, or is that a no?
I can't say it's a no, but it's not really a yes either.
Right.
There have been times where you made me have two memories. So I remember I had been in LA about 10 years. And it was like one of my first super slow periods. Sometimes, man, like when you're doing the sideman thing, it's like being a plumber.
Yeah.
And as long as there's broken toilets, we're working.
Right.
If you're not where the broken toilets are, things can get a little thin. And so I remember I was on the phone with my mother, actually. And my mom, just being my mom, was like, well, maybe you've done it. And I had just redone my resume and all that. And I said, Mama, but I'm sitting here with 10 years of my life on a piece of paper.
Right.
That's impossible. Well, the next gig I got was Christina Aguilera.
Oh man.
So had I given up,
yeah,
Probably, arguably, the biggest gig of my career.
Oh man,
I would have missed, right?
Man.
But I'll say this. So, but flash forward a few years, maybe 3 years. My mom passed, right?
Sorry.
And in the wake of that, I was sort of like, what am I doing?
Right.
Not so much in terms of, do I want to play or whatever? It was just like so much stuff around my life that it was like, and I got to figure out this, the snatch of this. So I can't say I ever wanted to quit, but there were times where I was like, I'm up to my eyeballs in music business, and I need to sort of back up from that part, But, even then, man, I did sort of leave the music business, not necessarily because it was like, okay, I'm done.
Right.
I just had an opportunity to start another company. I started a digital marketing company with some good friends, and we were fairly successful at doing that, web development, ad stuff and all that. And I thought, okay, this is where I'm going to retire, right? Marketing, digital advertising, and what have you. But what happened, oddly enough, was that time period sort of healed my spirit from, my mom and some other things happened in my personal life.
Yeah.
And then I just fell in love with music again, man. And it wasn't so much that I fell out. It was just heavy. Everything was heavy, right?
Yeah.
And so when I fell in love with music again, then it was like, oh man, now I got this whole new source of inspiration to sort of draw from to make music again. And shortly after that is when I meet the girls and, so on and so forth, man.
Yeah.
So it was sort of good to sort of go away for a little while.
Right.
But it wasn't a plan. It wasn't like I'm out and I'm going to, It was, here's an opportunity. And then as that started to develop, it was like, I could actually turn 75 doing this.
Right.
As opposed to like jumping up and down stage and trying to be funky, for the rest of my life. Because, it kind of felt like, do you want to be the old guy?
Right.
Doing that. But on the same token, it all does come to an end at some point. I mean, even now, like, you watch guys like Jonathan Moffett, who is still, listen, Jonathan Moffett is still Jonathan Moffett. Do not be confused.
Is.
But Jonathan Moffett is not getting ready to go play for Taylor Swift.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's not, even though he's that drummer, right?
Yeah.
And so when I watch him on TikTok and what have you, what is he playing? He's playing Michael Jackson. Stuff.
Yep.
So it's like there's a trade-off. Like, he's always going to be that guy.
Yeah.
And I worked with him many moons ago on some other stuff, but like,
work with some legends, dude.
Bro, I've been blessed, man. I've been blessed. I've been blessed, man. For real.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man. Like I said, man, you like, thank you again, man, for being on the show. like seriously, bro. But there was a question I had for you earlier. I wanted to find out what was your music influences, like what gravitated you towards playing like keyboards or bass, or I mean, you can explain it like each one, like what got you on keyboards, what got you on bass, you know what I mean? So
right. Okay. So I started playing, man, when I was in the 5th grade. My very, very first instrument actually was trombone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But partly because of my father. And then as I got into high school, there were two motivating factors. One, that marching band stance with that horn sitting there like this, that ain't no fun. So I joined the drum line in high school. So I started playing, I don't know if I was the shortest dude, but I was one of the shortest dudes on the biggest bass. Right. and then right around 15, though, I started playing piano. And so there was like a little pocket of musicians that are all buddies. One dude was a bass player, a couple guitar players, a couple of drummers. And so the only spot that wasn't covered was keyboards. So it's sort of like by elimination, I became the keyboard player. But this is also roughly Purple Rain time. So, one of my biggest influences was and still is Prince.
Yes.
And, and so because of him, I often, him and quite frankly, Sly Stone.
Yeah.
The idea that I could sort of do whatever creative space I wanted to go to kind of came from those guys. I'm actually listening to Sly Stone's audiobook now, and he's talking about the beginning of his career and how when he was a DJ at KSOL, when the Beatles came out, Sly was saying how the Beatles like freaked them out.
Right.
He was a DJ at a R&B soul radio station, KSOL, right?
Right.
And he said people were telling him that they shouldn't be playing the Beatles on a soul station. He said, but to me, it was all music. And so in that way, Prince was very similar in that way, where he could do, Let's Go Crazy and Erotic City all in the same space. You know what I'm saying? And it all is organic to who he is.
Yeah.
And so that really resonated with me personally. And so later on, with all the things that I've been able to do in my life, I can see that reflecting in my creative space. So I started playing keyboards when I was about 15. Somewhere around there, I asked my mom for a bass for Christmas or whatever, and God bless her, she didn't know what she was buying. She went and bought me a little short scale bass, man. But you know what? I played it like it was, Stanley Clark's, whatever. I was in there and I got a little envelope filter, man. Something, man, I was killing them, right?
Right.
And then around 18 years old, man, I met Derek DOA Allen. And so man, you got to remember, man, I come from Sacramento.
Right.
Sacramento is, it's sort of like a hidden gem. There's a ton of talent here in this town. There's a ton.
Right.
Club Nouveau, Jay King is from here. Club Nouveau.
Okay.
There's a guy named Robert Brookins, who was actually before Jay. Robert Brookins, man, super crazy keyboard player, vocalist. He played with Stanley Clarke, Stephanie Mills, Earth, Wind and Fire, like on and on. Like, so all of these guys sort of paved the way. And then sort of the next wave was Derek Allen and a guy named Flip Kirby, who was a drummer. He played for, I think he played for Stephanie Mills as well. He also played for Bobby Brown. So if you ever see like the Humpin' video, Bobby, that's Flip playing and that stuff. Those guys were sort of that next wave. And then me and he's known by his production name now, G1. Me and G1 left Sacramento. We were the next wave. And so we left as a drummer keyboard player team.
Yeah.
And then we got Tracy Spencer together. And then he went on to go do Brandy and Shantae Moore. And then he landed with DJ Quick.
Okay.
And then he went on to produce a bunch of records with him. He wrote Let's Get Down for the Tonys. Like, so he went on and became a super producer. And then I kept touring and went my own direction. But we're all, so the thing is that, but there's new guys from SAC.
Yeah.
There's a guitar player, a good friend, Big Mike Hart. There's another kid coming, good drummer, Kyron Kirby, Flip's son, that they call K Frost. Dude. So the thing is that Sacramento still has that kind of thing. And the thing is that we all kind of, a lot of cats that I know, they come out of the church, but they go, oh yeah, but I want to do this pop gig, or I want to go do these kind of gigs, man. And they sort of figure out how to adapt what they do to that thing. And they really go on and make a big impact.
Man, can you talk a little about, were you, self-taught, or were you have an
Somewhat.
instructor?
Mostly self-taught. So like my piano lesson thing, I took lessons for like 3 months, man. And then everything else was just asking questions. Like I had, I read, but like I'm a little, be careful.
Yeah.
But
I'm not the same way, dude.
right. If you give me a minute, I can do it. But
right.
It's gonna take me a second to just make sure I remember. But I took piano lessons for like 3 months, man.
Right.
But I was just I met guys like Michael Norfleet, who at the time, man, monsters. I have good friends like Alex Alessandroni, who are monster keyboard players and musicians who could break Cheche Alada, who I can sit with and go, okay, so explain this thing to me. And Cassandra O'Neill, like who played with Prince.
Yeah.
Like I have all these, I sort of have a bunch of resources of people that I can call and go, hey, I'm in a jam. So for example, not long ago, I was sort of doing these like creative, like flips, just taking tunes and then doing new music under them. You could sort of look at them like remixes, but not really. So I took a Karen White tune. This is on my YouTube channel.
Okay.
I took a Karen White tune called The Way You Love Me, and I did a montuno under it, like a salsa vibe underneath it. And so I called Alex. I said, hey, man, I got this idea. I know what I want to do, but I can't think of what it's called. So I played it to him over the phone. And he was like, oh, it's a montuno. So I was like, okay, cool. So what I did is I went and studied montunos for like 3 days.
Right.
Like how to voice it, the whole thing, studied it. And now the disclaimer is I can't play it right now. But
that's all right.
But the thing is that I went and studied, I figured out what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I built this whole montuno around her tune. So I then sent it to guys that I knew that were in her band, and they were like, dude, how did you hear that?
Right.
But the point is to really get my arranging skills, going and do things that are creative in a way that is not common for guys like me. You know what I mean? So that shows that, hey, I can do whatever creative entity, direction you want to go. Let's go.
Man,
that was the point. So,
dude, can I also ask, like on the same kind of question for your like bass and keyboards, what made you want to become a producer though? What drove you to there?
It's funny, man. It's kind of all the same answer. Like the dude who really made me believe that I could do it was Prince. He was sort of a liberator, man.
Yeah, man.
And in the sense that if you can really communicate the idea the right way, it will find a home, And so in that way, from a songwriting standpoint, from a live performance standpoint, and then I guess sort of by extension, a production standpoint, like he's been sort of a cornerstone of my thinking in the sense of, if you hear it, we can do it. But then there's like Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, of course. There's a guy who, God rest his soul, that just passed, a guy named Busby, and a newer guy who did Pink and Maren Morris. And so he influenced me when I started doing the country stuff. But man, dude, the guy that made me go, okay, it's Prince, man.
Prince.
Yeah.
Wow, man. Yeah. No, he was a big influence on me.
Bro. Well, it's funny, man, being from Sacramento, because Sacramento was sort of at one point looked at like, is Sac going to be like the next sort of Minneapolis type place?
Yeah.
Sort of a weird little town that has a lot of talent. And could it be another Mecca? And so, it's been sort of one of those places where we've always had the opportunity, but we've only had a few people pop out, like I said, Club Nouveau, Jay and Club Nouveau, they won like R&B Song of the Year or something. Derek Allen obviously has had a ton of success as a producer. G1 has had a ton of success as a producer. So there's been a few of us that have been, but it's not like Minneapolis where there's Prince and Jimmy Jam, and but like there's so many that they're all eye level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, 𝐸 Studio, the new way musicians rehearse, record, and share their 𝐸 sessions on social media. Visit ERS on 𝐸studio.com. Download this amazing app on Google and Apple Apps stores.
Going in still and producing, can you like say like what was your like I want people to know about you and stuff like that.
Right. Sure.
And like what would you recommend, like what was the most like popular song that you had out?
Most popular song I had out. It might be the Adina Howard thing, man.
Yeah.
That kind of happened, you know, shout out to Livia Harris, man. And Billy Moss. There's a studio in LA, and I don't even know if it's still there, called the Enterprise.
Okay.
Enterprise was owned by he was a child actor. If you're a Star Trek fan, you know this episode.
Mm-hmm.
It was the episode when the crew went on a planet and all the adults were dead. Oh. And they were bump, 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 bump there because it was all run by the kids. Well, this guy was the oldest kid, and he became the owner of the Enterprise. So he named his studio, like the control room. It was a big painting, like a big mural of the Enterprise on the wall and all this stuff. So anyway, I was working in that studio,
right?
And Livio, I believe, was like sort of listening by my door, and he was like, "Yo, I got one more slot on this girl named Adina Howard."
Right.
And she had a song out called Freak Like Me at the time that I knew was going to be, you know, it was going up the chart. And I was like, well, let me jump on.
Right.
But I just wrote on that. I didn't produce the record. A guy named George Carante, they call him G-Man, produced the record. I just wrote the lyric melody with them. And that's probably one of the bigger ones. The 6-man thing, we didn't write.
Right.
But we produced it. It kind of shockingly though, because I didn't know the movie came out, I think the same weekend as Liar Liar. So it kind of got destroyed at the box office, but there are a lot of people that knew that movie.
Right.
So it's always sort of kind of weird when I run into someone that knows that movie. But let me, now that I'm thinking about it, now you got me really thinking. Season 5, the American Idol thing.
Yeah.
So that year, it was like the number 2. So technically, because that project was for a television show,
right,
it qualifies as a soundtrack album.
Oh, okay.
It was the number 2 soundtrack of the year that year. It went. There are, if you listen to the TV show, people, they'll tell you it went gold. RIAA says that not quite.
Right. Oh man.
But it's somewhere in that $400,000, $300,000, $500,000, you know, dollar in terms of sales.
Yeah.
So that was a big one for us as well, you know. But you know, man, listen, Christina Aguilera is the biggest project that I've been on, but I didn't write anything on it. You know,
right.
She sold 10 million records. So,
dude, man, I'm glad that you got to share those videos with me. And it was so dope, man, that you know, like it's like you were up there, man, you know, like having a good time.
Yeah, man. It was listen, I'll tell you, man, when you get to, and you know, man, you know what it's like when you're on one of those gigs, man. You're like, all those nights sitting in my room, shedding and just going over stuff, missing out on parties and missing out, you know. Oh, my girl's on the phone. I gotta call you later. Like all that stuff.
Yeah.
This is what I did it for.
Yeah.
And you know, listen, man, I'll say this. This life ain't for everybody, bro.
It's not.
It's not, because it's not. There is a trade-off that you have to recognize. You know, listen, I don't know how many you missed, but dude, I missed a lot of birthdays, man. I missed a lot of man, my family, a couple years in a row, they just stopped asking. But we're gonna all go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
In the summer, really?
Yeah.
Touring season,
right? That's the season. That's when you tour.
Bro, what I said being a plumber and toilets. Guess when the toilets are broken? In the summer, So it's like, yeah, I want to go. I can't.
Right? Yeah.
Unless you guys want to pay my rent next month.
Exactly.
So it's kind of one of those things, man, where my oldest niece, dude, I was there when I came home the day she was born.
Right.
I stayed and I was there, and Uncle Mike had to go back to work, man. And I see you at Thanksgiving. I'll see you at Christmas. So it happened.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you on that, man. Because I missed so many myself.
Yeah.
But I want to jump back real quick. I'm sorry. Especially when you shared those videos with me when you were playing with Christina Aguilera. I was on another, proud moment when I saw you on Red Table Talk.
Oh man, I forgot about that for a second.
I was like, I didn't even know that you were going to be on it. I'm like, hold on, I know that bass player.
Yeah,
I know that bass player. I'm like, hold on, he's playing with Wicked Wisdom.
Yeah,
and
man.
this just to explain, audience, this is Jada Pickett's band, but my dude Pocket is
my guy.
Yeah, he's the dude. Great guitar player. But man, how was that experience doing that show, and you were playing with Ronald Bruner Jr. as well?
Yeah.
But man, that dude, y'all killed it, man. That's hands down, y'all killed it. So I just wanted to say that to you, my man.
Good.
Yeah,
good.
but how'd you feel doing that? That was for Mother's Day, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a Mother's Day special. Yeah. So first off, again, shout out to my boy Pocket Honore. He made the call. But I've been friends with all of those guys for years, man.
Right.
So the original bass player, rest in peace, Rio Lawrence.
Yes.
He was a good friend, man. And he passed away. And so I was on the phone with Pocket when they called him.
Oh,
so I was, that's dope. He was like, yeah, they want us to do Red Table. And we were talking, and he's like telling me about the plan and this and that. I'm like, okay, cool, man, it's dope. And then, like, me and Pocket, too, there are days me and him, we'll talk 2 or 3 times a day, if not every day, right? So I was out taking a walk, with whoever I was dating at the time, and I get a phone call. It's like, hey, man, you want to play? Hell yeah! But this is the sort of the undercurrent of that.
Okay.
I was not in gig shape.
Oh.
Like, obviously I could play, but I was not in gig shape. So, dude, because I like to show up as best I can for my, especially when you trust me to come fill the shoes and like reels and whatever. And so, man, I was shedding like a mug, dude, to play that gig. And so, but it was a fun experience. Ronald I've known, man, since him and his brother, aka Thundercat.
Yep.
Were little dudes, man. And so it was cool to play with him. And then Taylor Graves, who is yikes.
Yeah.
Monster on those keyboards, man. And so it was a cool experience, man. And so technically, if Jada ever wants to put the band together, then that will be a version of the band, and I'll definitely pick up for that one. So,
man, I'll be on the lookout for that, man. I was like, man, come on,
we'll
man.
see, man. We'll
come
see.
On, Pocket.
There's been a, well, maybe not. Well, so it's, so we'll see, man. We'll see.
Man, but was it fun being on the TV set, doing?
Man, dude, they shot it at their house, man.
Right. Yeah.
Shoot that at their house. So, man, it was a trip, man, because when we went to the gate, just a little quick story. We went to the gate, and Pocket's riding with me, so I'm looking at him like, whose name did we say, right? And he said the wrong name. You were not getting in that gate.
Oh wow!
he was like, oh no, it's blah 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 blah, right? Oh, I just came open, man. And it was like you were on this whole other planet, man. This house is crazy, man. And
Right.
just the area in the back, man, it was like, wow. Yeah, I see how this is not even the other half, as they call them, the top 1%. That was okay. I get it.
Wow.
I get it.
Right.
It was serious, man. It's beautiful, man. And Willow, man, let me not skip past this and not mention Willow is the real deal, dude.
Yeah.
She is the real deal. Listen, she was some of the tunes that are out now, she was playing in rehearsals then.
Oh.
And I was going, the world is not ready for what this girl is capable of.
Wow.
And so when we got done, man, dude, it wasn't, so think about it. She's obviously the kids of two very uber famous people and the whole deal. And dude, she sat down, we were talking about guitar, bro.
Really?
She's like, yo, and I want to really get better at this. I mean, go back and look at the video, dude. She's wearing a freaking Mastodon shirt, dude.
I know, I saw that.
She's in.
Right.
She's all the way in, dude. She's the real deal, man. Do not be confused. And she could really, really sing. She's bad, man.
I heard her. That's the reason why I was like, oh shoot.
Yeah, dude.
Like,
bad, bro.
Like, come on, man. That girl can sing.
She's bad, bro. She's bad. And so for me, it was an honor to be a part of that. And just, listen, man, I've been fortunate to have a few names, maybe more than a few, on my resume that are like, oh, Christina Aguilera, obviously Willow Smith. I work with Jessica Simpson. I work with Ashley Simpson, Aaron Carter, Maya. Yeah. You can go down the list of some of the people that I've been able to work with, and it's like, and so to kind of backtrack for a hot second, when you asked me about the whole, did I ever want to quit or when I stopped doing music every day, I was like, you know what? If I never do music again, I'm good. Because I didn't leave feeling like, oh, I never got my shot. I didn't leave with that feeling. I accomplished more than I thought I could at, as a kid with a 19-year-old kid with a dream.
Right.
I definitely accomplished more than I thought I would. But I also recognize that with the things that I have on my resume, Dave Koz is in the near future. It's there are things that are still ahead of me that I haven't been done yet. You know what I'm saying? And so in that way, like, I recognize that my there's still empty pages left in my book, man, to still write. And so I'm enthusiastic, man, and I'm still hungry as I ever was. You know what I mean?
Speaking on that, like, what keeps you motivated?
What keeps me motivated? You know what, man? It's kind of a broad question, because I really enjoy, like, so for example, with Dalton, I mean, that actually came through you, and thanks for calling me on that one. But
no problem.
The thing that is interesting is that when I sit with him and we talk about concepts, we work on his guitar playing, we work on his vocals, is that I can drop some information into him and I see it show up a few weeks later. I remember one of the first things that I asked him to do was, go identify good songs and whatever. And I said, from any era, just kind of giving him something to think about. And he showed up with a few things, and he actually came to me with the Player tune, Baby Come Back. Right. And he loves that record, right? And we had this whole breakdown about songs. And then the next week, I think he came with Easy Commodores.
Oh, wow.
We were able to talk about song forms and why a song like that could sort of never really work now, because the chorus is the end of the song.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like when you think
Yeah.
about that song, right?
Yeah.
And so what kind of keeps my wheels turning, man, is the ability to sort of say things in a way that makes people go, oh wow. You know, I have my one of my girls from the group Paxton. When Auburn Road sort of fell apart, she was like, look, I want to keep going. And because she's African American, you know, we had to make some decisions. Like, do we continue with the country stuff that we've been doing? Do we decide to do something else? And, you know, she and I really talked about it. In fact, actually, we had a conversation about this last night. It was like, you know, do we want to fight being the Black girl in country battle? And she said, I don't know if my skin, you know, I don't know if my skin is tough enough for that. And I understood that because it's a complicated universe for African Americans still, even though we're making headways. And I think in the next 5 to 10 years, it'll be very different. But, you know, sometimes it's hard to be first. And so we started doing this sort of pop R&B stuff, right? And things that, you know, required her to sort of grow in terms of her feel. And dude, and we would sit, man, and we'd talk and it'd go, okay, let's try this. And we'd have good days and not so good days. And then we'd have other days that were great where she could see her growth, right? And but shoot, this time last year, actually, I believe it was, she sends me a voice note. Hey, I came up with this tune and it was really good, man. She has a song out called The Line that we did. Paxton is her name, Paxton Martin. And it's all available online. And the tune came out great, man. And so, you know, and these are not things that are necessarily, you know, going to get rich on, but there are things where the value is what I see that light go on. And so for me, it's like, okay, we're making an impact. And I think, you know, obviously it does have to make some sense at some point, you know, sense at some point. But ultimately, I think that's part of it. That's a big part of it, man. Just being able to be a part of new inspiration and new ideas that, you know, listen, the girls, Auburn Road was a lot of work, man. It was a lot of work because not only am I developing young artists and schooling them on the music business and all the other ins and outs of that, but I'm also learning country music. Like I was a casual fan. I'm a Rascal Flatts fan.
Yeah.
You know, even though the wheels came off, I'm a Rascal Flatts fan, bro. But I went and learned it. I had to learn it. And not just like learn it from where it was in 2016 or 13 or whatever it was when I started. I went back. George Strait, Dixie Chicks. Early Dixie Chicks. You know, all of that stuff. Learn it so that I can, because I always thought of it like this. The country music fan that I'm trying to get their attention will know the context of the music that I'm creating. And so I have to know at least some, you know, listen, this, you know, talking 50 years of music, I have to know at least some of the stuff that they'll know. So that I could do, and you know what's crazy? When I did the rock thing, I did the same thing. So there are like Jay-Z records that were out. So I was doing the rock thing from 97 to 2001. There are Jay-Z records that were out in that record that I had to go discover after the fact because I was up to my eyeballs listening to freaking Led Zeppelin and going back, like going to that same thing so that I could have context and understand where is the universe that I'm creating in. And you know, listen, I say this all the time, man. My process sometimes is slow. You know, when I started working with Dalton, I said, man, dude, it's a slow, but it's a very deliberate process. But when you arrive at those juncture moments, you won't go, oh, I don't know this, or I don't know. Dude, I had the girls listening to as much gospel as they were learning country. Because if they don't understand that country music is gospel music watered down, you're not going to do, you know what I'm saying? And then, but also because of that, then we actually come to the table with some other things going on. Now we can sing in different types of harmony over these country chords and that kind of approach, man. So it's been good, man. And I'll say this, I know my answer is getting a little long, but
that's right.
The country thing also, it helped me become a better songwriter, man. It made me start thinking about lyrics differently. It made me go, oh, you know what, man? What if we, quick example, we wrote a song called Harvest Moon. And it's got these crazy harmonies, man. It's really cool. But originally it was just me and you under the harvest moon, blah, 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 blah. And it sounded good. And then, I think we wrote the song, we started the song on a Friday. I kind of had the weekend to think about it. And I was like, you know what? This song's going to suck. I said, and again, this goes to show you the homework stuff, right?
Yeah.
Dixie Chicks have a song called Traveling Soldier. And that song's about a soldier. I think it was like Vietnam War, if I remember the context. He meets a girl on his way to being deployed. Well, that soldier dies. I said, wow, what if we wrote a song like that, but our soldier doesn't die? And so as we kept talking about it, man, what came out of the idea was we wrote a song about the families watching their soldier go off. So the first verse is watching him pack his bag, or her, I guess, for that matter.
Yeah.
Watching them pack their bag, and you're trying to like not show them that you're nervous that they're leaving and all that stuff and all the things that happened. And so what ended up happening was when we would do the show, when the girls would perform the song live, they would then dedicate it to our military and their families. Right? And so now what we've done, because I did all this other homework, is, dude, I've tapped into the culture.
Yeah.
So it's not just this song and whatever. Now it's like, oh, wow, this resonates in this audience in a way that will be more impactful than just, oh, me and you, and it's just this cute little song that sounds good. And I think sometimes, man, our business, and this is genreless. I think we all do this.
Yep.
I think sometimes we don't want to spend that extra hour or that extra 20 minutes. Are we sure? Let's just make sure we spend a little more time. And I'm not saying every song has to be, freaking, Mozart. I'm not saying that. I'm saying, because there's a time and a place for everything. But I also think that, man, the reason why all of us, especially purist musicians, we sort of complain about things is because it's become a little too commonplace. We go, to hear the phrase, all you got to do is. Yeah, that means you're dumbing it down.
Right.
And I think we all suffer when we don't spend that extra 20 minutes, that one more listen. Oh, man, let me go. Let's listen. And, listen, we grew up in an era, man, with Michael, Prince, Springsteen, Madonna, Adam Kite, and they all pushed each other. And it made the music better. That's why when you listen to the music from then and even all through the 90s, that's why most of it is still pretty doggone good.
Yeah.
Because they were going, man, Jimmy and Terry did that record, and Babyface in LA would go, all right, we gotta end of the road. We gotta catch up. And then Rhythm Nation would come, and then everybody was pushing each other. And now it's sort of like, and it dumbs the music down in a way that downstream the consumer is affected, and guess why do we wonder why people don't want to buy music?
Right.
Because the potato chip that we're making ain't that good.
Yeah. Man.
I'm sorry, that was a long answer.
No. That's fine, because it goes into my next question. Kids that are trying to get into this music business, what would you tell them? And a lot of it, like what you explained already, is like part of that the answer already. But
Right.
how do you feel like when kids are trying to get into this and they're trying to be a producer or a bassist or a drummer or, you know, whatever they're trying to get into, what would you say to them?
Okay, so I'm going to say something that may or may not be controversial, but if you don't have a spiritual life, you might want to get one. Because, and I'm not here to say go to church per se. I'm saying find something that is above you, because in the end, you got to have faith, man.
Yeah,
you got to have faith, because there are going to be many times that you're going to be digging and digging and digging, and you ain't going to hit nothing. But just like the story where I was telling earlier, you know, I went through a slow period. It was the first, dude, 9 years, I was pretty consistent working. And then at that 9 and some change year, it was like, it was like nothing for a while.
Yeah.
And, you know, but I had to keep digging, and then boom, I get the phone call to come play with Christina Aguilera.
Right.
So you better have that. That's the first thing. The second is, I think you have to recognize, man, even though the internet and all these dolls and whatever sort of allow you to be sort of a one-man band, dude, you still need relationships, man. You still need to, you know, so I would say, man, just learn how to be what your mom told you when you went to school. Be nice. Be cool, right?
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
Yep.
And so, you know, man, when my son was a little boy, man, I would tell him, hey, don't be that guy, dude. Be the, and so, you know, be a good person. You know, I used to tell the girls, we're not making stars. We're making good people. If we make good people, they'll be good stars. Okay. And so, you know, and so in that way, do your homework, man. Do your homework. And in that way also, but let me say this too, especially when you're young, learn to listen, man. And I'm not saying listen for when you can respond. Learn to listen and be quiet. You know, the internet and these YouTube videos, man, I think they're a great thing, man. I think they're great.
Yeah. But
they also are only part of the answer. You know, and so, like, listen, okay, just take any video, you know, whoever's watching this thing later on, you know, take any video that you would watch, how to use compression, how to, you know, play this song or that song on bass or drums or whatever. And then before you start watching it, just look at how many views are on that video.
Yeah.
If there's 100,000 plus, that means 100,000 people have watched that same video. And most of y'all gonna take the same daggum approach.
Right.
So that means now everybody's sounding the same.
Yeah.
Back in the day when we didn't have these tools, man, there was much more individuality. And I think we're at that point, man, where, you know, dude, I saw there was an article that came out about a month or so ago that hip hop for the first time, and we're at the 50-year mark of hip hop, is down 40%.
Whoa.
Yeah, 40%. But why is that? Because everything sounds the doggone same, right?
I agree with you.
No one is trying to be a real lyricist anymore. No, that work that it took to build the Jay-Z's, the Biggies, the Pacs, all those people, they're not doing that work any longer. And, you know, and so what's happened is, man, dude, it all ends up downstream. And but this is true for every genre. This is true for every genre. R&B, it's been struggling to come back. You and I have had conversations. Where are the rock stars?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, thank God for David Grohl, bro, because we ain't got no rock stars, bro.
They saved it.
You know what I'm saying? Bro, he's the only one. I mean, there may be one or two others, but you know, there's not any rock stars, man. Now, let me say this. I think the culture, because there's a nuance to the rock thing. I think the culture of rock butts up against the culture of society now.
Yeah.
Like a David Lee Roth.
Right. Yeah.
He couldn't exist now.
Nope.
Because what he did, sort of, I'll use this word, misogyny and all that. That's not really looked at as the cool thing anymore.
Yeah.
I also think rock also, it couldn't justify sponsorship.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you were a sellout. Oh, they're doing a Coke commercial. Oh, everybody else was making money. Rock was like, nah, dude, I don't wanna.
Right.
And got left in the dust.
Yeah.
And so, but it's been a long time, man, since we have a big dude. I mean, I can't, other than the Foo Fighters, man, I can't think of two bands, in recent memory that are, doing the. I mean, and I'm not talking like Rage and that thing. I mean, rock
music,
singers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the thing is that I think we're all at a space, man, right now. I think the music business is a very interesting place right now because the digital thing has come in and sort of changed the value of things. And it's also changed the approach in terms of how we're creative. But inside of there, in space, in between that space, is another little kid who's 17 years old somewhere sitting in his garage or his mom's house in his bedroom with a guitar and Logic Pro, and he's going to do something and it's going to make everybody go, dude.
Right.
And that kid's going to win. So you got to do the work.
Yeah. I was going to ask real quick, and you just said it, like what kind of programs would you have, like, kids that are starting out, what kind of programs would you make them, go get?
So, okay. I learned how to make records on Pro Tools. It is not as expensive because now they do subscription services now. Mm-hmm. It's not as expensive to get Pro Tools as it used to be. But you still don't have any plugins. You don't have any of the extra stuff in it. So you still got to buy that on top of it. So Ableton, Logic Pro is what I use. Mm-hmm. But listen, let me be clear. It ain't never the gear, dude. Right. It's the person sitting in front of it. Yeah. And so listen, I have things that I could play you that I did on GarageBand that people hear them, they go, what? If you got Fruity Loops, make it work. You know what I'm saying? I think the DAW thing matters only if you have budget. Yeah. If you don't have a lot of money, dude, Logic costs $200 and it comes with compressors and amps and this and that and the other. It comes with a Melodyne type function. So if you need to tune vocals, it comes with a lot of stuff in it for $200. So I think, instead of, going to waste money on, a pair of sneakers for a month or two, get you a DAW, get you a little controller, get to work. Yeah. You also need an interface, but these are all things that you can buy for under $600. A little controller, not like this, but like you can buy a controller for $100. Right. You figure that's $3. You get your interface, that's another $150 roughly. Like a Scarlett 2, just 2 inputs. Then get you some decent set of speakers. You don't need no, they don't have to be crazy. Right. Get you a decent set of speakers and get to working. Get to work. Man. No
sorry to cut you off. I'm sorry.
No.
Can you go into, like where people can find you?
Man, my social media is kind of all over the place. I am President Anderson on Instagram. Let me double check what my name is on TikTok. I forgot.
That's all right.
Hold on. Let me see. I think it's, hold on. Yeah, the Mr. Anderson. on TikTok. Yeah, TikTok. And then Conversion ENT on YouTube is my channel over there. So I haven't locked into one name on one place, but it's probably because everybody already has my name.
Right.
So that's what that's about. Yeah.
Oh man, I want to thank you again, man. I'm gonna wrap this up now.
Words.
But man, I appreciate you taking the time out and doing this for me, man. Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely, bro, man. Thanks for asking, man. And next time I'll make sure I put down the right time.
All right. Don't even worry, man. It's all good, man. Don't even worry, man. But thank you again. But man, if again, I mean, would you mind doing another podcast with me?
Man, I got you, bro. I got it.
We can dip in some more stuff, man.
Absolutely, man. I mean, dude, we there's a whole bunch of stuff that we actually didn't touch in terms of development and that bunch. Man, I'm in. You want me back?
No, I need to have you on here again because I want to touch on that too.
Sure.
And because I don't have that on my show.
Yeah.
Talk about that, man. But man, I appreciate that, dude.
For sure.
Awesome, Michael.
I'm here.
Oh man, and I'm probably gonna have the editor cut this or whatever. But I wanted to talk about how you and I met.
Oh, right.
Can we do that? Is that cool? And because I believe I met you at NAMM, but I forgot what year it was. But tell me your side.
2016. It's probably 2016.
Wow.
Because I met you with only 3 girls, right?
Yeah. Yep.
I'm gonna tell you why I know that. So the girls started as 5 originally.
Okay.
And I would take all of them to NAMM. So can you imagine me running around NAMM with 5 teenage girls?
Oh man.
So I did that for 2 years.
Right.
And then in 2016, they went down to 3. That was the first year I met you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we had just put out our first record.
Man.
Yeah.
Dude.
It's 2016.
And the girls, and I'm gonna say this, that the girls blew my mind then. And then probably 2 NAMMs later, like incredible.
Yeah, they were
holy
rough,
crap, man. Michael. These girls sound amazing.
Yeah.
So but anytime I'm really touchy on this, for me, anytime a singer can start making me cry.
Oh wow.
I get that wrapped up in music.
Oh, wow.
But I was trying to hold it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
wow.
I was kind of faking the funk.
What did they sing? Like Bring It On Home or something? Like the Sam Cooke thing?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, they used to kill that. They used to kill that.
And they did it, what? Was it in the restaurant? Or
Yeah.
It was in the restaurant of it, and I was just like, oh my God. Oh.
Right. Yeah. Well, see, it's like this, man. And again, like when we can touch on this more when we do a longer talk about artist development.
Yeah.
One of the first things that I was really on was like, look, man, ain't nobody waiting for you to get yourself together and wind up and dude, let's go. Y'all know the note. Let's go.
Right. Like you just put them like, bam, do it.
Yeah. Because the thing is that you got to understand, man, you don't have later on to come back.
Mm-hmm.
You got to do it right now.
Yeah.
So what we did is we just had 4 or 5 things in our back pocket all the time that I'm gonna hit you up the side of the head with right now. And so when you leave, you're gonna be like, yeah, that right there.
Mm-hmm.
And just make it impactful, man. And so I'm glad, man. I remember very clearly that first day when, shout out to our boy Joe Estrada.
That's right. Joseph.
Shout out to and but the funny thing is, but Joe will tell you, because I did the same thing with Joe and his band.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And they were older guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they had sent me their music, and I sat with it for maybe a week before I went out and saw their rehearsal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like 8 tunes that they had, and they played everything all the way down. I didn't say not one word. They got to the last tune, and I said, okay, can we try something? And I said to Joe, I said, hey, there was something in his drum part, whatever. And I said, hey, can we take the tom thing out or whatever it was? And I said, now play that whole groove without that part in it. And the whole band was like, oh, yeah. Like all of a sudden it opened it up because he was jumbling up the pocket, and it made it breathe. I said, okay, now let's go talk. And so, me and Joe, it's funny because we had this conversation not too long ago. And he said, man, when I met this guy, dude, I wanted to punch him in the face or whatever. Because I dude, he was, late 20s, early 30s, whatever it was.
Right.
And I said, hey, man, I think I need you to forget everything you think you know about drumming for a while.
Yeah.
And he didn't say nothing to me, but he was like, what the fuck, whatever.
Yeah.
And so I said, dude, trust me, 90 days.
Yeah.
And I said, put your metronome on 60 BPM and play 2 and 4. Don't play no licks.
Yeah.
And so he told me recently, he's like, man, I went to it. Like, this ain't gonna be nothing. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And he realized how hard it was. And then he said he realized that he was playing from here, man, and not like the seat.
Yeah.
Try to make it feel better. But dude, 90 days almost on the dot. And you could feel it in the room. You could feel it. And so in that way, man, I try to, whether it's on an individual musician, obviously they were bands, but I drilled in on him because he was the core, the rhythm section, or singers or whatever. I sort of take the same approach. Like, how do we become the most impactful? I'm going to tell you a 2-second story.
Okay.
My son, when he was younger, he was about 6 years old. He was taking martial arts. And, a lot of kids, when they're taking martial arts, they're really weak because they're little kids. Well, I told my son, hey, you need to learn how to fill the room with your voice. And I took the singer's approach and I applied it to martial arts. I did the same sort of stuff that I would do. And so my son's weapon was the sword. And so you have to kind of do this thing where you twist it and it snaps and all this other stuff. But when you do it, you do a kia with it. And so he's 6 years old, man, right? So I did all that. We go to the tournament. And because there wasn't enough kids in his age range, what they did is they opened the age range from 6 to 12. So now there's a bunch of kids. Now there's kids that are obviously older than him that may have a little bit more hands. So I was like, I was prepared to do this against like kids that are 6 and 7 and 10 years old, maybe not 12.
Yeah.
But as I was watching them, all of them did exactly what I thought. Like really sort of weak performances. To my son comes in there, all this stuff. Like, okay. So then they go to call out the awards. And in second place, Christian Anderson won, right? And so, but the thing is that, so I tell that story to say this. I don't care what it is, music, martial arts, basketball, heck, graphic design, be impactful. Find a way to be impactful. I believe in the visceral reaction. I believe in that feeling right now. And you just confirmed it. That song, by picking that Sam Cooke thing, it made you feel something.
Yeah.
And listen, I'd be a fool to think that my girls were the best, but I definitely know that they were competitive. And so in that way, what my first thought was, I'm gonna make these little girls impactful. When they open their mouth, people gonna go, what in the world was that?
You got me, man. I tell you that straight up. You got me. It's like, wow.
Yeah. So in that way, like to me, like when I think about like how we met, and then sort of tying it to the conversation that we had about artist development, young artists, and things to tell them. Be impactful, man. Think about, wow, man. And I think a lot of times people either don't give it any thought. They sort of they undercut themselves before they start. Oh, no one's gonna care. Well, if you don't care, then why will I?
Right.
So it becomes one of those things where it's a whole thought process, which is why, to kind of close it out here, which is why I said what I said about getting some sort of spiritual life, man. Because if you don't have a vision that you believe in, no matter what, you gotta see the thing, man.
Yes.
You gotta see it, and you gotta see it before it's there. I remember a good friend was telling me something about that he learned about marketing years ago. And he said, before this thing existed, somebody who sat down with a piece of paper and said, man, I'm going to put cold coffee in a bottle.
Yeah.
And what we're going to do is do this and this and that and the other. And they thought about, okay, so are we going to make it clear so people can see the coffee itself? Or we're going to put a label on it? How are we going to do this to make people buy ours as opposed to the Dunkin' and Donuts one or the whatever?
Yeah.
And so all of that stuff, dude, this is, to me, when I heard that story, I was like, oh, that's what we do with music. That's what you do when you go on rehearsal, when you're getting ready to go on tour. You're going, oh yeah, we're going to put the show together and we're going to put this song right here.
Yep.
And when it comes with this one, we're going to blow their head off.
Right.
Like, we're all doing it. It's just different compartments of the same exact idea. And those of us that are able to sort of do it, maybe a little bit more concisely than others, those are the ones that cut through. Listen, I'm looking over your shoulder right now at a little gold piece right there. Bro, that's how you get those.
Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
That's how you get them.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like the other competitors in your space didn't, the other drummers in your space didn't play whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just yours rung through. Yours, when you hit that bell, it rung through with those people that do the voting. And that's why you got that thing.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, dude, you guys were in some serious competition.
Oh,
yeah. You know what I mean? Right, bro. So, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, so in that way, man, I think we all have to sort of think about things from an impactful way. What's going to be the most impactful? And then we can, and as you test things, because you listen, the one thing about what we do is most of the time you're going to get an immediate feedback.
Yeah. Most
of the time, listen, you put it up on social media, and if nobody says nothing, maybe that's not the one. Or to not just sort of misjudge, just keep swinging, man. The first thing that I did with I know I'm getting long with it because now I'm enjoying this conversation. Right? But the first thing that I did to launch the girls, man, when they were 5 was, I guess it was 2014 or whatever year it was. Valentine's Day was on a Friday that year. And so what I did is I did 5 individual videos that I released on the week of Valentine's Day. And I came up with the whole concept. It was called Love Notes. Each girl sang lead on a different song. And we released a new video every day that week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, but by the time we got to the end of the video, you got to see different sides of all 5 girls. You got to hear everybody's voice, and dude, that whole week, everybody was going, what? Wow, man, these girls are crazy. There was a TV show called The Sing Off at the time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They called about the girls. America's Got Talent called. Like all those shows called because I was doing those videos. And all I was thinking was, I just want to start here with great video. I wasn't thinking about them shows. In fact, a couple of the girls were too young. I wouldn't have done it anyway, but the girls were too young to do the shows because there's a minimum age to be on the shows. But all I wanted to do was put some good content out and say, hey, this is a relaunch. This is where we're starting. and it made the shows call me.
Right. Wow, dude.
See what I'm saying? So I think when you think that way, you really sort of take your time, think about the way that you want to do things, then you can be impactful.
Man, speak on that, man. That was great, man.
For sure. Absolutely.
Man. But I'm gonna let you be. Thank you.
Okay, yeah. I'm sitting here going, yeah, I gotta go to a minute. About 30 minutes before I gotta bounce to my next thing. But it's all
right. I got you, dude. Thank you again, Michael, man.
Absolutely, man.
Man, we'll talk soon.
For sure.
And take it easy.
Yeah, man. Have a good one.
Man. Later on. All right, later.
Today's episode is brought to you by our sponsor, 𝐢𝐥𝐜 Studio. The new way musicians rehearse, record, and share their 𝐢𝐥𝐜 sessions on social media. Visit ERS on 𝐢𝐥𝐜studio.com. Download this amazing app on Google and Apple Apps stores.
Visit us on www.talkmusicpodcast.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Download our podcast on Apple, Google, Amazon, and Spotify.